Hey, how's it going, everybody? This one's just gonna kind of be a shorter one because I just haven't uploaded in a while, and you see the title of the video. I finally got my I basically just decided what I wanted to run for a Sky Striker deck if I ever wanted to play that. So I'm just gonna upload this real quick just because I haven't uploaded anything in a while, and I just wanted to do that. It's not what I'm playing today, but I still think Striker is a cool deck. Do I think it needed cards like Engage back? Maybe it needed it, but I really don't think that it should have come back, but oh well. I digress. It's content for me because I get to make the deck profile of it, so let's just jump right into that. Of course, starting off with the standard thing that any Striker deck would run. If you're not running 3-Ray, you're not playing Striker correctly. This one's a bit more subjective. I do play 2 rows. Some decks only run 1 rows or just cut rows altogether. I understand that, but I do this for 2 reasons. One, you need to see a body to be able to go into your Sky Striker links. There's a bunch of different ways to be able to see a Striker monster with the spells, but the reason I run 2 rows is also because, little spoiler for the extra deck, I do run Nightmare Phoenix to help with cards like Anti-Spell and Imperial Order. And if you just so happen to have Ray and Rose, it just helps to be able to out that, because self-explanatory, you cannot play under those cards. You have to get rid of them. So Rose just helps do that, and it just helps ensure that you see a monster so you can go into your Sky Striker links, because if you cannot, you are up a creek. Then just for the rest of the monsters, these are mainly just hand traps. We do run 3 Effect Veiler. Veiler is a pretty decent card in the modern meta. It just works in general. And then, of course, we run this to go with the Needle Fiber Selene access code, OTK, because it is a spellcaster tuner. 3 Ash, it's a tuner, and it's just generically good in any deck and against any deck, so why not? And then 2 Bell, because Bell is pretty decent in this format as well, and it is also a tuner. You only run 2 of I only run 2 of it, though, just because the other ones come up more and just for space reasons. Onto the spells, the card that, very controversial that it came back. A lot of people love it, a lot of people hate it, but it is here at 1. We have Engage back, so this is obviously the reason Striker is coming back. And your other one-ofs, of course, Multi-Roll and Hornet Drones. I'm just at least thankful they didn't put these to more than that, especially this one, because then you would have had more Striker packages like you had back in the day. The 2 Area Zero and the 1 Terraforming, only run it as a 2 of, just for space, more so, and we do run the Terraforming because we do run another field spell in here. You'll see what that is later, but you probably catch my drift, and I'll explain why later on. For the rest of your spells, we do finally have Widow Anchor back at 3. We've had that for a little bit, but Widow Anchor is at 3. It's a really good one to have, so if you're not playing it at 3, then you may have something wrong with you. I do play 3 Shark Cannon. Some people only play 2. Reason being is just because Shark Cannon is just nuts, this format. Being able to banish important cards out the graveyard, unless you're in Europe and you have to deal with the European restrictions when it comes to stuff like Ben 10, so sorry for you. But for those of us in normal land, banishing stuff from the graveyard is really good. Or if you just need to special summon it to be able to go into other options that you need, because Striker doesn't really put many bodies on the board, so being able to take some of those or just limit your opponent's options is just really good in general. I do play 2 Afterburners. I see some build only play 1, and it just comes up too much to keep it at 1, so I use it as 2 of. I play the 1 Jamming Wave just because hitting back row, this can hit back row anyway, but you're relying on the 3 spells for that. This does the same thing but in reverse, so just having the anti-back row option is really good as well. I do play the Eagle Booster because this card is actually becoming more prominent and more useful than ever in this format, just because there's just some effects that you absolutely have to protect when you're trying to resolve your Striker monsters. And I do play the 1 Hercules base. I wasn't really looking to play this card at first, but then I remembered that Striker, more times than not, is going to be a grind deck. This is a Blind Go second build of Striker, more so than others. But regardless of whether you're trying to go first or second, Striker usually gets into a grind game. So having the 1 of Hercules base to recycle some of your monsters or potentially get some more draw power is just really good, and it ends up coming up. So I just decided to include it as a 1 of when I was putting this together, and it just seems like a really good option. It's just good to have as 1. And then just some other generic cards to have. The 1 Rhoda, of course, because this is Striker. You need to see Ray. It's just another copy of Ray. The 3 Desires. I understand there's a lot of stuff in here that you don't want to banish. There's a lot of 1-ofs in this deck. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you just need to see your options. If you banish them, it sucks. But, I mean, there's not really many other draw spells that really benefit from Striker. I saw some builds playing Pot of Prosperity, and I really don't recommend doing that because your extra deck is really, really tight in a Striker build. You're going to need everything that comes up. I mean, you might banish some stuff you might not use, like Kaina, Ningirsu. But, I mean, if you banish them and then those end up coming up, which they usually do end up coming up in every single game, then, I mean, you're just out of options. I mean, you could make the same argument that you're going to banish your stuff that you need in your main deck off of Desires, but, I mean, there's just no easy way out of it. You need draw power. It gets another spell into your graveyard, or it can bait out another interaction. This is just the lesser of all evils, I guess, to play. I hate this card, absolutely, with a passion, but I do have 3 Mystic Mine in this Striker build. I put this in here very, very reluctantly, but I just do this because I know that a lot of Striker builds are doing it. You just need it in Striker sometimes. If I were to actually play this, competitively and bring this as my deck that I'm going to be playing at my local, I would probably take this out just because I don't want to win in a competitive setting off of Mystic Mine, because that's just stupid. If your deck has to rely on Mystic Mine, I would probably take this out and put in another engine, put in more useful cards, increase some ratios of other hand traps, or, I don't know, put in the Foolish Burial Goods and Metal Foes Fusion build. But just in general, Mystic Mine is a better option. I'm personally not a fan of this card. I'm only doing this as a demonstration of what the deck usually does and what would benefit the deck the most, but in a competitive setting, I personally would not play this just because I think this is a very poorly designed card, and it's very degenerate. It does not promote interaction at all. And then just the last 3 Cosmic Cyclone. You just straight up need this in Striker. Cards like Imperial Order and Anti-Spell are becoming more prominent because Striker is becoming more popular, so you kind of have to play cards like this or Twin Twister. You can't get away with cards like Lightning Storm and Feather Duster. They're good to play in the deck, but those can't be the only things you're relying on, because you're just going to eat Imperial Order when you do that, and you're just going to have your entire day ruined. So you gotta see interactive outs to cards like Order and Anti-Spell, and that is one of them. On to the extra deck. Most of this is going to be extremely standard for what Striker does. 3 Shizuku. This is probably your most important extra deck monster. It helps you see any spell that you need, especially in the end phase. Kagari is at 3, so we of course play that. Insert joke here of this being 3 more copies of Engage. 2 Hayate, of course. I see some builds play 3. Whether or not you want to play 2 or 3 of this is completely up to you. I just personally only play 2 because one of the main ways you win with this deck is with the access code OTK, and you don't have a way to make access code attack twice like you would be able to using Update Jammer and Salamangreat. So you need to be able to deal, you're going to be able to boost access code up to 5,300, but I mean, you obviously have to deal the damage before that, and Hayate is, I mean, you only have to swing twice with Hayate, so 2 is usually enough. If you end up eating some disruptions or negations trying to resolve Hayate's effect, that's okay sometimes. Like I said, Striker usually gets into a grind, which is why I included some of those cards like Hercules base. But I just feel 2 Hayate is a good ratio to run in this. The 1 Kaina, it ends up coming up. It can help you live if you're able to resolve Ray's effect and then tag Ray out into Kaina to stop an attack. It just helps you live. Zeke is still just an incredible card in this. Get rid of, banish one of your opponent's options for a few turns, help you clear out stuff from your main monster zone so that you can use the rest of your striker spells. It's just really, really handy, and this is just one of the best cards you can run. That's all the striker links that we run. Those are usually pretty standard, and as you can see, it kind of eats up your extra deck space. So for the remaining few slots that we have, like I said, we do run the one Phoenix, and the reason being, since Imperial Order and Anti-Spell are going around more, you just have to have options to be able to out it, and that's why I play two Rose in the deck, to be able to help go into Phoenix to out the Order. Because, I mean, if you get hit with Imperial Order and you don't have your Cosmic Cyclone, or they had the Judgment or something to stop your Cyclone, you just got to have an out, or you just lose the game. And this is just to help with the consistency of that. I was playing Hida at first, because you can just use Kagari and one of the other monsters to go into Hida and then steal one of your opponent's fire monsters, usually an Ash. Ash is a really common hand trap played. That just helps you get to a tuner so you can go into the Needle Fiber Sling access code package. Speaking of which, we of course play that. And that's why we play Veiler as well. But sometimes you just need to get to the tuner, and Hida does help with that, but I just decided to drop it for the Phoenix, just because you have to have outs to Imperial Order and Anti-Spell, because you're gonna end up seeing it in matchups, and if you don't have the initial response, you gotta have the other response to be able to help out, and Phoenix just helps with that. And then for the last one, we played Ningirsu. This is pretty standard for most any striker build. This helps out Dragoon, this helps out other problematic things. It can help clear out some stuff in your main monster zone. I've had to use this to get even monsters to out a Mystic Mine, or to just clear my zone so I can use some of my other spells. It's just handy in multiple ways, and it's just a good card in general. And I'm not going to show a side deck, because this is just a generic build I have for the deck, and like I said, I would make some changes if I would do it competitively. I personally would not play Mystic Mine, because that card is degenerate and terribly printed. But that's my main default build that I would ever use this for. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great rest of the day.